I didn't bring my passport to Venice for a one-night stay and ended up with my passport marked as stolen, leading to multiple harassments at border control. How could a simple mistake turn into a nightmare for the rest of my trip? This incident did not actually occur today, but rather back in December. I am sharing it now as a cautionary tale for others, in the hopes of preventing anyone from experiencing a similar situation, as it was not enjoyable. In December, I embarked on my first solo overseas trip. I was in Europe for a study abroad program, as my university has a campus in Italy. On weekends, all the students would leave our study abroad accommodation and travel to another Italian city, since we had 3-day weekends and the freedom to explore. Italy is easy to navigate. A friend and I decided to visit Venice. When we met in the lobby of our study abroad accommodation prior to boarding the train, she inquired whether I had brought my passport. I responded, "No, but I have a photo of it, so do not worry. We are only going to Venice for one night, so it will be fine. I would prefer to leave it locked in our accommodation to avoid the risk of pickpocketing." At least, that is what I thought. I have used photos of my passport as identification on numerous occasions when checking into hotels. I even had a live photo as evidence that it was not altered. Eventually, we arrived in Venice and were in the process of checking in when the receptionist at our hostel informed us that he could not check us in because he needed to scan a physical passport. I had presumed he would only require my friend's passport, regardless of whether I had brought mine, since she was the one who made the booking. This assumption was reinforced by the fact that it had been the case during the previous weekend's trip. Although I did have my passport that time, it was not even checked. The receptionist assured me, "Do not panic, this happens frequently. Just go across the canal to obtain a declaration from the police stating that your passport is lost, and we will check you in." I thought, okay, so I did. I felt terrible for my friend, who had to wait an hour for my return, but in any case, I successfully checked in. The police in Venice advised me to visit the police station immediately the following day upon returning to my study abroad city so that I could present the physical passport and have it unblocked. Yes, I did that. Everything turned out fine. The officers informed me that my passport was now unblocked and provided me with a letter confirming this. All was well until I left the Schengen zone to visit the United Kingdom for New Year's Eve. At the Channel crossing, the border police informed me that my passport was registered in their system as stolen. I exclaimed, "What the heck?" The officers stated that there was nothing wrong with my passport. The passport officer added, "Well, you are traveling with an illegal passport. You could get into trouble, but I will let you through. Just go to the Australian embassy in London immediately so they can issue you an emergency passport." Naturally, I complied. The officer at the embassy reassured me, stating, "Do not worry. Your passport is valid in the Australian system, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. I do not know why the border officer said that to you. I cannot assist you. You do not need a new passport." I felt relieved, especially considering that Australian passports are among the most expensive in the world, almost $500, and I had just acquired a new 10-year passport right before my trip. Thus, I thought it might have been a misunderstanding at the border, and everything was fine. Nope. A week later, when I tried to re-enter the Schengen area, I was once again confronted at the border. They informed me that they were legally required to confiscate my passport since it was listed as stolen. I exclaimed, "What on earth? I just visited the embassy and they confirmed there was no issue." The police responded, "We do not care, that is not what our system indicates. However, we will be lenient and allow you to pass this time, but you must go to the embassy again. Otherwise, the police will confiscate your passport." This was a terrifying threat to present to a young solo traveler. As soon as I arrived in Paris, I went to the embassy. This time, I had a thorough meeting with consular services, who informed me that it was, in fact, illegal for the Italian police to have tampered with my passport and declared it stolen or lost in the first place, especially since it was never lost but merely in my study abroad hotel room. The officer provided me with his business card and a piece of paper containing contact details for the Australian consulate, so that if I encountered harassment at the border again, I could instruct the border police to contact them to verify the legitimacy of my passport. For the remainder of my trip, I did not have to pass through a Schengen border, though my passport was stamped when I exited the European Union without any inquiries. Thus, I will never know if I would have faced further shouting. Unfortunately, the issue is that my passport is likely still flagged in whatever system those border agents utilized. I may encounter difficulties the next time I visit Europe, and I do not know how to resolve it, as it has been confirmed to be fine in the Australian system. All of this occurred because I naively did not bring my passport for a one-night stay in Venice. Therefore, the moral of the story is, bureaucracy is frustrating, and you should never venture anywhere without your physical passport, regardless of the circumstances. It could lead to a genuinely distressing experience for the remainder of your vacation. In summary, I failed to bring my passport for a one-night stay in Venice, which resulted in me facing harassment at the border multiple times throughout the rest of my trip, because the Italian police had blocked my passport in order for me to check into my hotel. They apparently never unblocked it, despite claiming to have done so, which ultimately caused my passport to be registered in the border system as stolen. Story 2. Devastated by my best friend's suicide on Christmas Eve, I rushed to the scene only to find the reality too unbearable. Days later, I uncovered haunting messages revealing his true feelings echoes of our past. How do I move forward from such heartbreak? I have never written a post like this, so please bear with me. To make a long story short, my best friend took his own life on Christmas Eve night. It was 11 p.m. on Christmas Eve when I had just gone to bed when, suddenly, I received a phone call. My friend was telling me that he believed my best friend had shot himself. I realized that right after I had gone to bed, one of his roommates, who did not have my phone number, entered my Discord server and was saying they needed me as soon as possible because my best friend had just passed away. Thank God my best friend saw that message. Otherwise, I might have slept through everything. I was in complete denial. I thought he was playing some kind of horrible joke on me, as he had a rather edgy sense of humor. I ended up having to call another one of his roommates to confirm, and he did. I sobbed so hard that my boyfriend had to drive me. During the drive, I was still in denial, but deep down, I knew. As soon as we got down the street and I saw the police cars, it sank in and I lost it. We had been together a few years ago, and he had moved down from Massachusetts to be here, so he was far from his parents, and I was the only one who had any way of contacting them. I called his mother first and told her, and her screams and pleas will haunt my mind forever. His father ended up calling me afterward, and that will also continue to haunt my mind. The police would not let my boyfriend or me inside, so I ended up sitting outside on the curb, waiting for the officers to come out so I could find out what was happening. The coroner, or whichever official it was, arrived about an hour or two later and pulled out the stretcher. He asked me to help him carry it inside, even though the police were inside just talking. The entire time, not a single officer spoke a word to me. I had to practically beg them to talk to his parents and explain things to them. They took him away, and the police didn't really inform us about what we should do next. At one point, one of the roommates decided he wanted to go in and clean up the mess to prevent it from lingering there, and my boyfriend chose to help out so I wouldn't have to. After that, I had to go into his room and gather several belongings for his parents, who wanted to ensure that nothing was disturbed by anyone at the house. It still haunts me to see that cut-out section of carpet. I ended up being there from around 11:30 p.m. to 7 a.m. I am still really struggling to process everything. He had someone staying with him at that time, whom I believe he was dating. They were in the room with him when it happened, right in front of him. They said he just randomly grabbed it and did it, but his parents do not trust that account. I later found out that they planned on ending things when they returned home. He had very poor gun safety and would often do reckless things, like dry firing at people. So there is no definitive way of knowing what happened. But the uncertainty kills me as well. His wake was in January, and I drove to his home state with all of his roommates. His parents eventually gave me his phone to search through and delete the pictures so they could recover them without encountering anything they did not want to see. During that process, I came across a few photos of him speaking to people about how much he resented me after our breakup. We broke up about 1.5 years ago and were on much better terms by then, but it still hurts me inside to see what I saw. I wish I had never had to do that, but his parents did not trust anyone else. I also had to return to that room multiple times to collect his possessions to keep them safe for his parents. Each time haunts me more than the last. I am still heavily struggling with the grief, and I am extremely depressed. I have also been drinking quite heavily, which I am trying to stop. We knew each other for about 9 years and dated for about 3. Our breakup was a bit messy, and it took us about a year to heal. During that time, he confided in me that he had attempted to shoot himself, but the gun misfired. I never really knew if he was completely honest about that, but I always worried about him. Every fiber of my being believes he was attempting to make a foolish joke to the person he was dating and accidentally misfired the weapon. But I will never know. The gun he used had a very light trigger, and he had accidentally misfired it in our old apartment, nearly hitting me. But again, I cannot truly know. My last interaction with him was when he came to my house around 7 p.m. to pick up the Christmas gift I bought him. I was not home, so I had to remotely let him in. He called to tell me he was there, that he loved the wrapping paper and the name tag on the gift, and to thank me. My last words to him were Merry Christmas. A few hours later, he entered my server and expressed how much he appreciated his gift, to which I replied that I was glad. I will forever be grateful that our last interaction was so positive. Even the week before, we had been joking around, laughing, and having fun like we used to many years ago. We had begun planning for a convention we intended to attend in a few months, and we had a concert planned for this month. He seemed happier than ever. It has been over 2 months now, and I still feel extremely lost, confused, and depressed. I miss him more than I can adequately express, and I cannot escape this grief. I want to discuss it with more people, but it seems that every time I bring it up, it completely kills the mood, so I keep it to myself. His parents are still utterly devastated, and his mother will call me randomly when she is drinking, and we will talk for hours and just sob together. I ended up taking in his cat and bearded dragon, which we got together. I am happy to care for them, but it still pains me to see them and to know why they are here. His cat was very upset for a while, and I felt terrible for her. I'm trying to get into counseling, but things seem to fall apart before I go through with it. Story 3. Confronting my boyfriend over his lack of empathy for my cat, after he left him trapped in a closet overnight, led to a heated debate about perspectives. Is expecting basic compassion for a pet too much to ask? I am a 20-year-old female, and my boyfriend is a 20-year-old male. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment, and my kitchen has a side door that contains my washer and dryer along with some cleaning supplies. I have a 1-year-old male cat who is a rescue. My boyfriend is very tall, so understandably, all of my cats have been intimidated by him. Last night, my cat Munch got scared and went into the laundry room, which is not a significant issue because that is his little hiding spot. However, I prefer to keep the door open so he can come out whenever he wants. After preparing dinner, we sat down to watch our show on the couch. My boyfriend got up to grab a drink from the kitchen and closed the closet door. I told him to open it because Munch was still in there. He took his camera and apparently looked behind the washer and dryer, confirming that he was not inside. However, I knew that if Munch had come out, I would have seen him, so I asked him to leave the door open anyway, just in case. He responded that he would not keep it open because it frightened him and made him feel uncomfortable. So I let him close it after he checked again and assured me that Munch was not in there. Later, we went to bed, and neither of us entered the kitchen again after that. Since I work from home today, I woke up at 7 and went into the kitchen to get a drink, and to my surprise, Munch was in the closet and had been all night. I opened the door, fed him, and began my workday. My boyfriend woke up around 8:30, and during the time I had been working, which was a busy day, I completely forgot about the closet situation. Then my boyfriend left for school around 9:30, and afterward, Munch came out, so I started petting him. I remembered the closet situation and decided to text my boyfriend about it. Here is how the conversation went. Me, also, as a total side note, Munch was in the laundry room. Him, oops, me, I do not know what camera you used, but it clearly was not a good one. Him, he must have gotten in there when you opened it last night. Girl, please, he definitely went in there last night. Me, I knew he did, and the door was not opened at any other time. Him, you opened it this morning. Actually, wait. Me, that was why I thought he was in there and was going to open it, but you told me not to open it last night because you were scared. Him, I think we slept with it open. It feels weird when it is open, but okay, message received. Me, we did not because I asked you to, and you said no because it scares you. Him, it is just a cat, who cares? Me, you are horrible. Would you enjoy being trapped in a closet overnight with no food, water, or means to use the bathroom? Him, I am not a cat. I hope you are not comparing me to one. I am a human being, but now I am properly offended. Me, I just do not understand how you have zero empathy for a tiny creature. Him, okay, I will start comparing you to animals so you can see how badly I am hurt. He has free will to do whatever he wants. I could not care less. Me, he does not though. He is a cat. Him, just to make it fair, I will show you how I feel. Me, he is not able to open doors. Him, yes, he is. I saw him do it last night. Me, it was already open. He pushed his way through because he is scared of you. Him, but it is okay. I just thought I would not be compared to a little house cat. Me, it is called perspective. Him, it is fine. I am done with this conversation, please and thank you. It is not you are just trying to defend it, and I do not like it. Instead of retaliating for my peace of mind, I will leave it alone. Me, if you were a tiny helpless creature who cannot open doors and you were trapped in a closet all night, how would you feel? Him, I am not though, so why would I ever think like that? Me, it is called empathy, and the fact that you cannot see that is astonishing to me. Him, I would not need to think like that. I am not a tiny helpless creature, and the fact that you cannot see that is incredible. Good to know where I stand. Me, it is called understanding another being's perspective and recognizing how that could be wrong. You simply do not want to admit you made a mistake by being scared of a closet door. Him, I would never want to put myself in a cat's position. Why on earth would I ever think like that? I would not. I do not care. I am not a cat and never will be. That is a mediocre thought process. Me, it is obviously not meant to be taken so literally, and the fact that you are focused on that tells me everything I need to know. Him, girl, please, nice try though. I already got all the information I needed anyway. I am done with this conversation. So, am I the unreasonable one in this situation, or is he just genuinely an immature individual who lacks any empathy? I need advice because I truly cannot tell if I am going insane. Thank you, everyone.